My father slips in every night, she sobbed, the rancher stunned, then acted in an unimaginable way. The sun dipped low over the Martian plains, painting the sky in shades of deep orange and soft crimson. Dust swirled around the scattered rocks, pushed gently by the cold evening winds. The settlement of Red Hollow, a small cluster of human habitats, stood alone amidst the endless expanse. Its people had carved a life from the harsh land, relying on grit, patience, and each other. Among them lived Joran Hale, a rancher known for his stubborn strength and quiet wisdom. Joran's ranch was small but well kept. A few dome-shaped shelters held equipment, crops, and livestock adapted for Mars. Outside, the field stretched in neat patterns, dotted with low-tech wind turbines and solar panels that glimmered in the fading sunlight. Joran had spent years here, shaping the land with his hands, making it productive and livable. But even the strongest heart could not guard against worry for someone they loved. Inside one of the shelters, Alara sat on the floor, knees pulled close to her chest. Her wide, green eyes glistened with tears, and her hands shook as she clutched a small, worn notebook. She looked up at Joran, who leaned against the doorway, his broad shoulders silhouetted against the dim light. "Joran, I don't know what to do," she whispered, her voice trembling. "It's happening again, my father, he comes in my dreams every night." Joran stiffened. The words struck him like a cold gust of wind. He had always known Alara's past was complicated. She had come to him as a child, alone and scared, after her parents vanished in a research expedition. But he had never expected that the man she called her father, someone lost to the unknown, might still reach her somehow. "Slow down, Alara," Joran said, moving closer and kneeling so he was at eye level with her. "Take a breath and tell me exactly what's happening." She nodded, shivering. I dream of him. Not just any dream, it's like he's really there. He talks to me, Joran, he's warning me about something coming. I see lights, machines, and he tells me to get ready." Joran's brow furrowed. He had always been a man of reason, of facts he could touch and understand. Dreams were intangible, but the intensity in Alara's eyes, the fear that gripped her small frame, made him pause. There was truth there, he could feel it. "Has anyone else seen these things?" he asked carefully. She shook her head. "No, it's just me. And I'm scared, Joran. I don't know what he wants me to do. I don't even know if he's real or if I'm going crazy." Joran reached out and took her hand, roughened from years of hard work, and squeezed it gently. "You're not crazy, Alara. Not if you feel this strongly. Sometimes dreams can be messages, even if we don't understand them at first." Alara looked at him, hope flickering through her fear. Do you think it's possible that he's really trying to reach me?" Joran thought for a long moment. He had faced many challenges on this planet. Dust storms that threatened crops, malfunctioning machines, and the loneliness of living on a remote world. But nothing had ever shaken him like this, something beyond understanding, beyond logic. "Maybe," he said slowly. "Maybe your father found a way, or maybe your mind is connecting things in a way we don't understand yet. Either way, we'll figure it out." Alara's sobs softened, replaced by quiet determination. "You really think we can?" Joran nodded. "I know we can. We're humans. We adapt, we survive, and we protect the ones we love. You and me, Alara, will face whatever this is together." The two of them sat in silence for a while, listening to the distant hum of the settlement's life support systems and the faint rustle of Martian wind outside. Then Joran stood and offered his hand. "Come on, let's get ready. If your father's messages are real, we need to understand them. We start tonight." Alara hesitated, then took his hand. Together they stepped outside into the cool evening air. The plain stretched endlessly before them, silent and unyielding. But for the first time in weeks, Alara felt a spark of hope. They walked toward the edge of the settlement, where Joran kept his equipment, an assortment of drones, sensors, and old, repurposed farm machinery. He had learned to modify every tool to suit life on Mars, blending human ingenuity with necessity. Tonight, that ingenuity would be their ally. Start with the drones, Joran instructed, setting one on a tripod. We'll scan the area for unusual energy readings, movement, anything that doesn't belong here. Alara helped, her small hands steady as she adjusted the drone's sensors. She had grown up learning from Joran, mastering machines and logic in a way most girls her age back on Earth never had to. Her father's disappearance had left a void, but under Joran's guidance, she had become capable and clever. As the drones buzzed to life, scanning the horizon, Alara's heart thudded. Every sweep, every light pulse felt like a clue, a sign that her father's warnings were real. The Martian night grew darker, and the first stars began to twinkle in the sky, tiny points of light against the vast, cold canvas. Hours passed, and though the sensors picked up nothing extraordinary, Joran refused to dismiss Alara's experiences. Sometimes, he said, looking at her, the message isn't about what we see, it's about what we feel. And right now, you're telling us something important is coming. We just need to be ready. Alara nodded, gripping her notebook. I know, I'll remember everything he says, Joran. I won't forget a word. Finally, after their long vigil, they returned to the shelter. Exhausted but alert, Joran prepared a simple meal while Alara wrote down her dreams, every detail recorded in careful handwriting. The notebook grew heavy with symbols, sketches, and fragments of conversation, each page a breadcrumb left by her father's presence. As she wrote, a quiet resolve settled over her. She might be small, young, and far from her father, but she had Joran by her side, and together they could face the unknown. Later, when Alara finally drifted to sleep, Joran watched her from across the room. Her breathing was steady, her hands clutching the notebook like a lifeline. He didn't fully understand what force had reached her father across time and space, but he knew one thing: humans were extraordinary. They faced the impossible, adapted to the harshest conditions, and never gave up on those they loved. He whispered to the empty room, more to himself than anyone else, "We'll find him. We'll be ready for whatever comes." And outside, the Martian wind whispered through the rocks, carrying with it a strange, almost imperceptible hum. Joran did not notice it yet, but the night was alive and someone was watching, waiting, and guiding. Alara's journey had begun, and the first step was learning to trust herself, her dreams, and the unwavering strength of the human heart. The next morning, the Martian sky was pale and cold, the sun a faint disk on the horizon. Red Hollow stirred slowly, its small population of humans beginning another day of work in the dusty plains. Joran Hale moved with quiet efficiency, checking his equipment, repairing solar panels, and ensuring the livestock were safe. Yet his mind was elsewhere, focused on Alara's words from the previous night. Alara was already awake, notebook in hand. She sat by the small window of the shelter, tracing her fingers over the pages filled with sketches of strange lights, machines, and the fragmented phrases her father had spoken in dreams. Every mark seemed to pulse with significance, as if the images themselves wanted to be understood. "Joran," she said, turning to him with determination, "I think there's a pattern. Every night he shows me something different, but the sequence feels like a map. Something is out there waiting for us to see it." Joran nodded, his mind working through possibilities. "A map, huh? Then we'll follow it. Humans are good at solving puzzles, Alara. Let's see what your father wants us to find." They prepared quickly, packing sensors, portable scanners, and a few drones. Joran had spent years learning how to repurpose old farming machines into tools for survival and exploration. A soil harvester could be modified into a mobile energy detector, irrigation pipes became sensor towers, and his tractor could carry extra equipment across the plains. Each tool was a testament to human adaptability, a skill no alien species could easily match. By mid-morning, they were outside the settlement, moving across the rusty terrain. The Martian soil crunched beneath their boots, and occasional dust devils danced along the horizon. The drones hummed overhead, scanning for energy fluctuations, unusual movements, or anything that did not belong. "Look," Alara said, pointing to a faint glow near a cluster of rocks several hundred meters away. It pulsed like a heartbeat, soft but unmistakable. Joran squinted, adjusting the drone's sensors. "That's not natural. Let's approach carefully." As they neared the glow, the wind shifted, carrying a faint metallic scent. The Martian plains were silent, save for the soft whir of machinery and their own breaths. Joran set the drone to hover above the glowing patch, transmitting data back to their handheld device. The reading spiked suddenly, indicating an unusual energy source buried just beneath the surface. Alara's eyes widened. It's like he wanted us to find this." Joran nodded. "Could be. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Either way, humans don't back down from puzzles, especially not when someone we care about is involved." They dug carefully, using small hand tools to uncover a panel partially buried in Martian dust. It was made of a strange alloy, smooth and slightly warm to the touch, with markings that seemed familiar to Alara. She ran her fingers over them, tracing the symbols. These are like the sketches in my notebook. He left them here." Joran studied the panel. "It's some kind of old research module, but why here? And why buried?" Alara tapped the markings lightly, and suddenly a holographic projection flickered to life above the panel. A three-dimensional map appeared, displaying a nearby canyon, faint red dots marking locations. Joran's eyes narrowed. "Looks like coordinates, and those dots could be something to investigate. Let's follow it." The rest of the day became a journey across the rugged Martian terrain. They walked through dry riverbeds and climbed over jagged rock formations, following the holographic map. Each red dot corresponded to a small anomaly, a patch of soil that glimmered oddly, a rock formation that hummed faintly, a strange indentation in the ground. As they approached the final dot, they came across something unexpected, a structure half buried and clearly abandoned. It was cylindrical, metallic, and unlike anything Joran had seen before. Small vents along its sides emitted faint blue light, and faint humming vibrations resonated through the ground. Alara gasped. It's like my father's research lab," Joran nodded, scanning the exterior. "If it is, it's been out here a long time. Whoever built this, they didn't want anyone to find it easily." Alara touched the surface. "But he wanted me to. He's guiding me, Joran. I can feel it." Carefully, they found an entrance and stepped inside. The interior was dark, lit by faint, automated lights that seemed to sense their presence. Panels lined the walls, filled with strange alien symbols, diagrams of machinery, and maps of the Martian surface. In the center of the room was a pedestal with a small, crystalline device pulsing softly with light. Alara approached it slowly. This is what he wanted me to see." Joran crouched beside her, examining the device. It's a data storage unit of some kind. Human-made, but with modifications I don't recognize. Whoever made this, your father, must have been working on something very advanced." Alara's fingers hovered over the device, hesitant but determined. As she touched it, a soft projection flickered to life, showing a figure she knew instantly, her father. His face was calm, yet there was urgency in his eyes. "Alara," the projection said in a gentle, commanding voice. "If you are seeing this, then you have followed the path correctly. There is something coming, something that will challenge humanity. But you, my daughter, can prepare us. Trust in your mind, trust in your heart, and most of all, trust in those who stand by you." Alara's hands shook, but she nodded. "I will, I promise." Joran placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll do this together. Humans can solve problems, adapt, and overcome. That's what makes us strong. Whatever your father has prepared, we'll figure it out and be ready." The projection continued, showing schematics of devices, energy flows, and locations that corresponded to other points on the Martian surface. Use this map. It will guide you to the remaining modules. Learn from them. Combine human ingenuity with what you find. Only then will you be ready for the challenge ahead. Alara memorized every detail, her mind racing with questions and possibilities. Joran watched her carefully. He had faced many unknowns in his life, but something about this combination of human determination and mysterious guidance, felt different. He felt the stirring of a greater purpose, one that would test them in ways he had never imagined. The two of them spent the night in the lab, documenting everything they could. Alara wrote down symbols, patterns, and potential instructions. Joran examined the machinery, trying to understand how human and alien technologies might work together. Despite the long hours and fatigue, neither complained. Every moment brought them closer to understanding the message her father had left, and closer to preparing for whatever was coming. When dawn finally broke over the Martian plains, casting pale gold light across the rocks, Joran and Alara stepped outside. The wind was lighter, carrying faint scents of the planet itself, dust, metal, and the promise of discovery. They looked out across the horizon, knowing that the path they had begun would lead them into unknown territories both physically and mentally. Alara tightened her grip on her notebook. "Do you think he's really watching us, Joran?" Joran smiled faintly. "Whether he is or not, humans are capable of amazing things. We adapt, we learn, and we protect. That's the truth. And right now, that truth will guide us more than any message." Together, they started toward the next location marked on the holographic map, their steps firm, their minds sharp, and their hearts resolute. Each moment tested their patience, their courage, and their understanding of what it meant to be human. By the time they reached a rocky plateau overlooking a valley, the sun hung high, turning the red landscape into a mosaic of shadows and light. Joran paused, scanning the horizon. "Whatever your father wants us to find next, we'll find it. Humans never give up, Alara. That's what makes us strong. That's what will keep us alive." Alara nodded, her fears replaced by determination. She was small, human, but she carried within her the courage of generations. She had her father's guidance, Joran's wisdom, and a mind capable of solving impossible puzzles. And somewhere beyond the red dust and the endless sky, something waited, something that would test the limits of humanity. But Joran and Alara were ready. Together they would rise to the challenge, one step at a time. The Martian plains stretched endlessly, their reddish surface bathed in the pale light of the morning sun. Dust swirled gently around the small figures of Joran and Alara as they walked toward the next location marked on the holographic map. Each step felt heavier than the last, not because of the terrain, but because of the growing weight of the unknown. Alara clutched her notebook tightly, filled with sketches, symbols, and instructions her father had left. The thought that her father might still be guiding them from afar gave her courage, but it also made her heart race. The air was thin, and each breath reminded her that Mars was as unforgiving as it was beautiful. Joran led the way, his hand hovering near the tools strapped to his belt. He had modified a small scanning device to detect energy patterns, vibrations, and even faint communication signals. Humans, he thought, could solve problems in ways no one else could. They could see connections, adapt tools, and act with courage even in the most uncertain circumstances. "Alara," he said, glancing back at her, "keep your eyes open. The map shows this location differently than the others. Whatever is waiting here, it's special." Alara nodded, her green eyes wide with curiosity and determination. She had learned to trust her father's messages, Joran's guidance, and her own instincts. Each time she approached a new marker, a mixture of excitement and fear surged through her. They reached a narrow canyon, its walls rising high above them, casting long shadows across the rocky floor. The holographic map projected a faint blue glow, pointing toward a small opening at the base of the canyon wall. As they approached, the ground beneath them vibrated lightly, almost imperceptibly, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Joran knelt and placed his scanning device on the ground. "Something's here," he murmured. "Not natural. Energy readings are fluctuating, but it's not harmful." Alara's heart pounded. "It feels alive," she whispered, "like it's waiting for us." They followed the energy signature into the narrow opening, their boots echoing softly against the stone. Inside, the canyon widened into a hidden chamber. Smooth, metallic walls reflected the faint blue glow of energy conduits running along the surface. The chamber was filled with devices, some clearly human, others strange and alien. Lights pulsed rhythmically, casting moving shadows across the walls. Alara stepped forward, awe on her face. This is amazing. It's like a laboratory, but not just human." "There's something more here," Joran nodded, carefully examining the devices. "It's a combination your father's design, maybe influenced by alien technology. Whoever created this, they were thinking beyond what humans have ever done before." Alara's fingers traced a series of symbols on a console. As she touched them, a holographic projection flickered to life. This time, the projection was not just of her father's face, but of the surrounding area, showing the chamber, the canyon, and the Martian plains outside. A soft voice echoed in the chamber. "Alara, you are learning quickly. This technology is a bridge between what humans know and what is yet to be discovered. Use it wisely. Humans are strong, clever, and resourceful. You must combine your heart with your mind to understand it fully." Alara's eyes widened. It's like he's teaching me through the projection." Joran watched carefully, nodding. "That's human ingenuity at work. Your father prepared this. He trusted humans to solve problems, adapt, and act intelligently. That's why he left this here." The projection shifted, showing a small sphere hovering above the ground. Light flowed through it in patterns, changing colors and forming complex geometries. Alara studied it, her mind racing. It responds to movement, to thought. It's like it's alive, but it's not alive in the way we know." Joran crouched beside her. "Then we need to figure out how it works. Humans have always studied patterns, adapted to challenges, and solved puzzles that seemed impossible. Let's do that here." They spent hours experimenting with the sphere. Alara moved her hands over it, tracing symbols she remembered from her father's notebook. Each gesture caused the sphere to pulse, project new holograms, or shift its position. Joran adjusted devices, combining human mechanics with the sphere's energy fields. Slowly, they began to understand the logic behind it, how human curiosity, observation, and ingenuity could interact with this alien-influenced technology. As they worked, the chamber seemed to respond. Lights brightened, conduits hummed in harmony, and the energy readings stabilized. Alara realized that the devices were designed not just to function on their own, but to teach, challenge, and enhance human thinking. "This is incredible," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "It's like it's preparing us. Like my father said, it's a test, but not a dangerous one, a test of our minds and our courage." Joran smiled. "Humans are clever, Alara. That's what makes us strong. We adapt, we learn, and we never give up. That's the message your father wanted us to understand." The holographic projection shifted again, showing the next location on the Martian plains. A faint trail of glowing lines led toward a plateau far in the distance. Alara studied the path carefully, noting every detail. "This is where we go next," she said. Joran nodded. "And we'll go together. Humans face challenges by combining knowledge, teamwork, and courage. That's how we overcome the impossible." Before leaving, Alara carefully recorded every symbol, every reaction, and every lesson the devices had taught them. The notebook was becoming a map of understanding, a guide that would help them navigate not just the Martian terrain, but the mysteries left behind by her father. As they stepped back into the canyon, the wind outside carried the faint hum of energy, as if the planet itself were alive and aware of their progress. Alara felt a surge of confidence. We're ready, Joran. We can do this. Joran placed a hand on her shoulder. We're always ready when we face challenges together. Humans are strong because we use our minds, hearts, and determination. That's something no force, known or unknown, can take from us. The journey to the next location was long and difficult. The terrain grew steeper, the rocks sharper, and the dust heavier. But humans are resilient. Joran's years of survival on Mars taught him how to read the landscape, find safe paths, and use ingenuity to overcome obstacles. He adapted his equipment, repurposed climbing tools, and even used reflective panels to signal energy patterns back to their sensors. Alara followed closely, learning from him. Each step, each challenge became a lesson in human resourcefulness. By the time they reached the edge of the plateau, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the valley below. The next location shimmered faintly, illuminated by the residual energy left by the devices. "This is it," Alara whispered. "The next module." Joran nodded, scanning the area with his device. The readings were stable but unusual, indicating that whatever awaited them here was different from the last chamber. "Humans face the unknown with courage," he said. "We observe, adapt, and act. That's what we'll do here." As they approached the module, it became clear that it was larger than the previous chamber, partially buried under Martian soil and rocks. Its surface was smooth and reflective, with symbols that glowed faintly in the evening light. Alara reached out, feeling the energy hum beneath her fingers. It's responding to us again," she said. "Like it knows we're here." Joran smiled. "Then we'll continue learning. Humans solve problems because we try, observe, and never give up. That's how we face the impossible." Together, they entered the chamber, ready to face whatever challenges awaited. Each lesson learned, each pattern understood, was a step closer to understanding the message her father had left. And somewhere beyond the glowing walls and humming conduits, a truth waited, one that would test their ingenuity, courage, and the very essence of what it meant to be human. As the stars began to appear in the Martian sky, Joran and Alara worked side by side, combining their knowledge, observation, and determination. The alien-influenced technology was not a threat, it was a teacher, and humans were learning faster than anyone could have imagined. By the time night fell, the chamber glowed softly, a testament to human resilience. Alara looked at Joran, her eyes shining with excitement. "We're getting closer, aren't we?" Joran nodded. "Closer than ever. Humans never give up. We adapt, we learn, and we find solutions. That's what your father wanted you to know, and that's what will guide us through whatever comes next." Outside, the Martian winds whispered across the plains, carrying the promise of discovery, challenge, and the extraordinary strength of the human spirit. The Martian dawn spilled pale light over the red plains, turning the jagged rocks into long, orange shadows. Joran and Alara stood at the edge of the plateau, looking down at the valley where the next module lay hidden. The air was crisp and thin, and the ground beneath them vibrated faintly with an energy that neither fully understood. Alara adjusted her pack and glanced at her father's notebook. Each page contained symbols, diagrams, and notes she had recorded from the previous chambers. They were becoming more than instructions. They were a map, a guide, a lesson in human ingenuity. "Joran," she said quietly, I think this module will tell us something important, something about my father or about what's coming." Joran nodded, scanning the valley with his sensor device. "It's possible. Humans are good at noticing details others might miss. That's why we survive, Alara. We learn, adapt, and find solutions where no one else can. Let's move carefully." They descended the rocky slope, each step measured and deliberate. The wind carried faint whispers of energy, subtle pulses that seemed almost like signals guiding them forward. The valley stretched wide and open, dotted with strange formations and metallic structures partially buried under Martian dust. "This is different," Alara said, her voice filled with awe. The energy readings are stronger here. It's like the module, it's alive in some way. Joran studied the patterns. Not alive exactly, but it reacts. Humans are able to understand patterns, adapt, and manipulate technology in ways no one else can. That's our advantage. They approached the module, a large dome partially buried in the red soil. The surface was smooth, metallic, and glowing faintly in intricate geometric patterns. Symbols from her father's notebook shimmered in the energy fields, confirming that they had followed the map correctly. Alara reached out cautiously. The dome pulsed under her fingers and the symbols rearranged themselves, forming lines that led toward a central console. Joran stepped beside her. "This is it," he whispered. "Whatever your father wanted us to find, it's here." As they activated the console, a holographic projection filled the chamber. It was her father, his face calm, yet filled with urgency. "Alara, Joran, if you are seeing this, then you have reached the final module. There is something important you must understand. The technology you see here, it is not just human. It is influenced by other intelligences, but it is meant for humans to use. Your ingenuity, your creativity, and your courage are the keys to unlocking its potential." Alara's hands shook as she listened. He's really guiding us, Joran. I can feel it." Joran nodded. "Humans have always been problem solvers. We take what we have and make it work. Your father is giving us a challenge, and humans will rise to meet it." The hologram shifted, displaying a series of symbols, energy flows, and devices. These are instructions, but also tests. Each module you have found has taught you something. Observation, adaptation, teamwork, and now you must combine these skills. The challenge ahead will require all of your understanding, every lesson you have learned. Alara studied the projections, her mind racing. "It's like a puzzle, a big puzzle. We have to figure it out ourselves." Joran smiled faintly. "That's what makes humans strong. We observe, we analyze, and we adapt. No obstacle is too great when we work together." They examined the dome carefully. Panels opened to reveal devices connected by glowing conduits. Small orbs floated above the central console, reacting to their movements and gestures. Alara moved her hands, tracing patterns she had memorized from the notebook. The orbs pulsed and projected holographic schematics, rearranging themselves as if teaching her. "It's responding," she whispered. "It's like it wants us to understand it." Joran adjusted a device near the base of the dome, connecting a small power converter he had modified from one of the drones. The energy reading stabilized, flowing through the conduits in smooth, predictable patterns. Humans, Joran thought, had an innate ability to solve problems. They didn't rely solely on strength. They relied on creativity, intelligence, and determination. Hours passed as they worked together, combining observation with action. Alara moved the orbs, studied the projections, and recorded each reaction. Joran adjusted the power flows, tested responses, and ensured the systems remained stable. Slowly, they began to understand the logic behind the dome. This is incredible," Alara said. "It's like my father created a system to teach humans how to think differently, how to solve problems we haven't even imagined yet." Joran nodded. "Exactly. Humans learn through exploration, experimentation, and observation. That's our strength. That's what makes us extraordinary." The projection shifted again, showing a map of the Martian plains with a series of energy nodes. "These nodes are not just locations," her father's voice explained. "They are connections, linking knowledge, technology, and strategy. Humans must navigate these connections carefully, using their ingenuity to unlock the potential within." Alara studied the map carefully, her mind piecing together the sequence. "We can do this, Joran. We just have to follow the patterns, understand the nodes, and combine what we've learned." Joran placed a hand on her shoulder. "We will. Humans always find a way. We think, we adapt, we solve. That's why we survive even in places like this." Together, they activated the nodes. following the patterns and learning from the responses of the dome systems. Each success was a small victory, confirming that human intelligence, observation, and perseverance could solve even the most complex problems. As night fell over the Martian plains, the dome glowed softly, its energy patterns reflecting their progress. Alara looked at Joran, her eyes shining with excitement and determination. "We're getting closer, aren't we? We can really do this." Joran smiled. "Yes. Humans never give up. We adapt, we learn, and we find solutions. That's why we are strong, and that strength will guide us through whatever comes next." Outside the dome, the Martian wind carried faint whispers, as if the planet itself acknowledged their progress. The energy readings stabilized, the symbols pulsed rhythmically, and the orbs hovered calmly, waiting for the next step. Alara and Joran spent the night documenting everything they had learned. The notebook was filled with observations, sketches, and notes, creating a detailed guide for the final stages of their journey. Each page reflected the ingenuity, curiosity, and resilience of the human spirit. By morning, the plateau was bathed in soft light. The energy nodes projected faint lines across the valley, pointing toward the final location. Alara studied the path, memorizing every detail. "This is it, Joran, the last step." Joran nodded, adjusting his scanning device. "And we'll face it together." Humans solve problems by thinking, observing, and adapting. That's what will guide us through. As they set off toward the final node, the air was filled with anticipation. The Martian plains stretched endlessly before them, a canvas of opportunity and challenge. Every step, every observation, every solution was a testament to human ingenuity and determination. Alara glanced at her father's notebook, then at Joran. "We're ready. Whatever's waiting, we can handle it." Joran smiled, his eyes reflecting pride and hope. "Humans never give up, Alara. We adapt, we learn, and we overcome. That's who we are. That's what makes us strong." Together, they moved forward, the glowing lines of the energy nodes guiding them toward the final revelation. Somewhere ahead, her father's message awaited, and humans were ready to rise to the challenge. The stars began to appear in the Martian sky, and the plateau shimmered with energy. It was a quiet moment, filled with promise. Humans had faced the unknown, learned from it, and adapted. And now, the final truth, the culmination of her father's guidance and their own ingenuity, was within reach. Alara and Joran stood at the edge of the plateau, ready to face whatever awaited them. The journey had tested their minds, hearts, and courage. But humans were extraordinary. They observed, adapted, and persevered. And with that strength, they would meet the challenges ahead, together. The Martian sky glowed in soft shades of orange and pink as dawn broke over the plateau. The wind was gentle, carrying faint whispers of energy from the nodes that stretched across the valley. Joran and Alara stood at the edge, staring down at the final location, the culmination of their long journey, the place where all the lessons, discoveries, and messages from her father would come together. Alara clutched her notebook tightly. Every sketch, every symbol, every lesson they had learned over the past days was now a tool, a key to unlocking the final challenge. She could feel her father's presence in her mind, calm but urging her forward. "Are you ready, Joran?" she asked, her voice steady despite the flutter of excitement in her chest. Joran adjusted his sensors and scanning device. "Always. Humans are strong because we think, adapt, and solve problems. This is no different. We observe, we learn, and we act. Let's do this together." They descended the slope toward the valley, following the faint glowing lines projected by the energy nodes. The terrain was uneven, dotted with rocks and metallic remnants of the modules they had discovered before. The air was filled with a soft hum, a rhythm that matched the pulsing energy of the nodes. As they reached the base of the valley, they saw it, a large circular chamber partially buried in the Martian soil. Its surface was smooth, metallic, and glowing with intricate geometric patterns. The symbols pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. This was the final module, the last piece of her father's guidance. Elara approached it cautiously, tracing her fingers over the glowing symbols. The moment she touched the surface, a holographic projection sprang to life, filling the chamber with soft blue light. Her father appeared, smiling gently, his eyes filled with pride and urgency. "Elara Joran," the projection began, "you have reached the final stage. The journey has tested your observation, your ingenuity, and your courage. Now you must combine all that you have learned. The challenges ahead will require your mind, your heart, and your determination. Humans are extraordinary. You will prove it now." Elara's heart raced. "We can do this," she whispered. She looked at Joran, who nodded encouragingly. "We have learned everything, and we can solve this together." The chamber responded to their movements. Symbols rearranged themselves, forming complex patterns and sequences. Floating orbs hovered in the center, reacting to gestures and touch. Elara moved her hands carefully, remembering each lesson from the previous modules. Joran adjusted the energy flow, combining his practical knowledge with her observations. Slowly, the orbs began to align. Energy flowed through the conduits, stabilizing in perfect rhythm. The holographic symbols rearranged themselves into a final configuration, a map of the Martian plains, showing safe paths, energy channels, and points of focus. "It's working," Elara exclaimed. "We're unlocking it," Joran smiled. "Humans solve problems because we keep trying, even when we don't know the answer at first. We observe, experiment, and adapt. That's what's happening now." The chamber vibrated softly, responding to their combined efforts. It was as if the technology itself acknowledged their progress. Elara realized that this final module was not just a machine. It was a test, a guide, and a mentor all in one. It had been designed to challenge humans, to push their minds and ingenuity to the limit, and to show them the strength within themselves. Hours passed as they worked, adjusting, experimenting, and learning from the chamber. Every success brought a small pulse of energy, every correct movement illuminated the patterns more brightly. Elara and Joran were in perfect harmony, their minds and actions synchronized. Finally, the last sequence clicked into place. The orbs floated upward, merging into a single beam of light that shot toward the Martian sky. The symbols on the walls pulsed in perfect rhythm, and the energy nodes across the valley glowed in unison. The final module had been activated, fully unlocked by human ingenuity, courage, and perseverance. Elara and Joran stood in awe. The chamber glowed warmly as if celebrating their achievement. Elara whispered, "We did it, we really did it." Joran placed a hand on her shoulder. "Humans always find a way. We observe, we adapt, and we act. That's how we overcome the impossible. That's what your father wanted you to understand." The holographic projection of her father appeared one last time. "Elara Joran, you have proven the greatest strength of humanity, our ability to learn, adapt, and solve problems. This technology, the modules, the challenges, they were not just tests. They were lessons, designed to show that humans are capable of extraordinary achievements. You have passed. You are ready for what comes next." Elara felt tears prick her eyes. She had followed her father's guidance, relied on Joran's wisdom, and trusted her own abilities. Together they had unlocked the secrets, understood the lessons, and proven that humans could rise to any challenge. "But there's more," her father's projection continued. "The knowledge you have gained is not only for survival, it is a tool to help humanity thrive. Use it wisely, share it, innovate, build. Humans are strong because you never give up, because you adapt, because you create solutions when none exist. That is your legacy." Elara looked around the chamber, feeling a deep sense of connection. The technology, the modules, her father's guidance, and their own perseverance had all led to this moment. Humans were not defined by strength alone. They were defined by intelligence, courage, and the ability to work together. Joran smiled, his eyes reflecting pride and hope. We have done more than solve a puzzle, Elara. We've proven what humans can achieve, and that strength, that determination will guide us into the future. Outside, the Martian plains shimmered in the morning light. The energy nodes glowed faintly, a silent testimony to their achievement. The wind carried the hum of energy across the valley, a soft melody of triumph and discovery. Elara felt a surge of confidence. We're ready for whatever comes next, Joran. Whatever challenges await, we can handle them, Joran nodded. Yes, humans adapt, we learn, we solve problems. That is who we are. That is what will always make us strong. Together they walked out of the chamber, their steps light but full of purpose. The journey had been long, filled with mystery, lessons, and challenges. But every step had proven one thing: humans are extraordinary. They observe, adapt, and act with courage and creativity. No obstacle is too great when approached with intelligence, perseverance, and heart. As they reached the edge of the plateau, they paused to look back at the valley below. The modules, the energy nodes, and the glowing patterns formed a vast web of knowledge and discovery. Humans had navigated it, learned from it, and triumphed. Elara looked at Joran. "Do you think my father is proud of us?" Joran placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice calm and full of certainty. "He would be. Humans always rise to challenges when they work together, think carefully, and never give up. We've proven it today, and that's all that matters." The two of them turned to face the horizon, the Martian sky painted with the colors of dawn. Ahead lay new plains, new discoveries, and the promise of endless possibilities. Humans had faced the unknown and emerged stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever before. Elara opened her notebook, filled with sketches, notes, and lessons learned. It was a record of triumph, ingenuity, and the strength of the human spirit. She smiled, knowing that whatever came next, humans would face it with courage, intelligence, and determination. Joran adjusted his scanning device one last time. Humans are extraordinary. We adapt, we learn, we solve problems. That's what makes us strong. That's what will carry us forward no matter what comes next. As they walked toward the next horizon, the wind carried faint whispers of energy, the soft hum of the Martian plains, and a promise. Humans would continue to explore, discover, and triumph, guided by their intelligence, creativity, and courage. And somewhere beyond the horizon, Elara felt her father's presence, calm, proud, and hopeful. Humans had risen to the challenge. Humans had triumphed. And humans would continue to shine, bright as the stars that now twinkled above the red Martian sky.